system. We are a project that has already 1 year, and we spent this year to prepare for the launch of this European Observatory and the preparation of the campaign that we're going to manage during the 2 coming years. And we have 2 activities in the project. One is to animate this observatory, to raise awareness on online identity theft, on the risk, improve and increase prevention. And the other aspect is also to empower law enforcement authorities with access to cutting-edge technology for better detection of, for example, video deepfake or audio detection, social media botnet, and extraction from dark web forum. So, so today we are kicking the first webinar. There will be a series. I will come back at the end of our events with the next activities that we will have in the observatory, so that you could keep following us for the coming months. So this morning we have a webinar that is open to the public, to everybody, and we want to present what is identity theft. So we'll work with this concept, go through different presentation, and you will have different partner of the project that will present the different facets of online identity thefts, both the technological aspect, but also the consequence on the citizen and the victims, and what we can do to prevent and detect this. The rules for this webinar are quite simple.
Sorry, the slides are not
showing.
Yeah, I mean, the screen is displayed, but it's still the first slide.
And then I don't know how to do that, but
yes,
yeah.
You need to stop sharing that, and I think start sharing. I mean, when you do a full screen presentation, it creates a new window in Windows. So you need to select that one.
Yeah, so I have to go back. But anyway, the rules for the webinar are rather simple. So I will select again and see. Do you see my screen now?
It's loading. Yes.
So it will not be full screen, but maybe that is easier. So the webinar rules are quite simple. Please keep your video and voice off when there will be the presentation. We'll organize some polls during the different presentation so that you can answer them. That will use Slido, so that will be rather easy to use. And at the end of the webinar, there will be time for a Q&A. So please write your questions on the chat, and we'll look at it and ask and use your question at the end. Now I will ask Anthony to show the video that will give a good introduction about online identity theft.
Over the recent years, online identity theft crimes have been spreading at an alarmingly fast rate. Criminals now employ a very wide and multimodal set of frauds, ranging from the remarkably simple to the complex and sophisticated. People's increased reliance on digital technology in their day-to-day life raises both the opportunities for fraud and the stakes of failing to prevent it. Project EITHOS will develop a novel identity theft observatory system, empowering European citizens, law enforcement agencies and policymakers. Our aim is to provide a common gateway for identity theft information and intelligence in Europe based on 2 pillars. Inform and educate European citizens through the observatory itself and via innovative awareness campaigns regarding the safety of their personal data and identity. identify and address the challenges that police authorities face against identity theft, and develop a robust software toolset to support them and enhance their investigations. More concretely, EITHOS will provide modern and robust technical solutions as part of a centralized framework for detecting audio, video and image-based deepfakes, as well as social media bot accounts. By extracting information on identity theft trends from the deep and dark web, it will contribute to the awareness of new and emerging methods utilized by identity thieves. It will analyze the existing legal framework and propose the necessary amendments to incorporate such technical solutions in the fight against online identity theft. Through its observatory, it will inform EU citizens regarding the security of their identity via dedicated campaigns, including online articles, example tools, comics and gamification. Finally, EITHOS will identify the support structures that are in place and study the socio-psychological impact of identity theft on victims and society as a whole. The EITHOS Consortium is a multidisciplinary team counting 12 partners from Belgium, Greece, Italy, Spain and Sweden, and representing a wide range of stakeholders. Follow the development of EITHOS on www.eithos.eu and on social media.
Thank you, Anthony, for the video. I think it's a good summary and introduction to the observatory. But then I think that we can start with the first presentation. So I'm very pleased to give the floor to Kostis Konstantadoukas from the Center for Research and Technology, Hellas in Greece, CERT, and who will present identity theft quick scan of concept. So a good introduction. Kostis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marie-Christine. And thank you, everybody, for attending this. Let me just share my presentation. Great. So, identity theft. So what is it? What does it mean? There are several elements that constitute our identity. Our name, of course, is a major part of our identity. Our role, for example, as a project manager in a project or a specific work role in work, our relations, our relatives, our friends, all of it is also part of our identity. Specific things that we use to interact with the state, like the social security number, with other organizations like credit card information, banking information, official document, like even the identity itself. All of it is part of our identity. And whenever some or all of it is controlled by someone else that poses as us, as the victim, without our consent, then this is identity theft. So if someone uses your name or your role or any of this part of your identity. And some examples of identity theft, like very traditional examples, old examples, if I may, is things like phone scams, like someone is calling your relatives, your parents, most often, saying, oh, mom, dad, you know, I've been in an accident, please send me some money. And so they're impersonating you, trying to get some money out of your relatives. Or if someone steals your actual identity card or your passport so that they can cross the border posing as you, this is, of course, a case of identity theft. If they steal, copy your credit card, even your medical insurance, or even good old-fashioned forgery, like forging your signature on a piece of paper or on a contract. There are, I mean, identity theft cases can range from the very simple, like the phone scams, to very, very elaborate. Like in the lower right section of the screen, there was a piece of news some time ago about someone who was trying to poison another woman that looked very much like her and assume her identity and her whole fortune, her social circle, and so on, using poisonous cheesecake. Of course, cheesecake does not always have to be part of identity theft, but it can be, and of course, it can range from the very simple to the very serious, including murder. Okay, but what is online identity theft? Online makes a lot of sense in the present day, because everybody, society, is making an increasing use of online platforms for just about everything. So, of course, we do everything on social media. We post photos, news, everything. We use email for personal or for professional reasons, like multiple times per day. We do most of our transactions by electronic banking. We store documents online. We store our calendars online. We do our communications using WhatsApp or Viber or Messenger chat or whatever. We read our news online mostly these days. I mean, not many people, I think, read actual newspapers, like the actual paper in the present day. Our entertainment, our games are online, our movies are online now. Even our education is online, like online courses and even certificates that you can get from doing online courses. And so all of these are elements of our online identity. And if some elements out of this are controlled by someone else, then our identity is compromised, and it is a case of online identity theft. Or, for short, it's what we call OIDT. So what are some basic types of online identity theft? Some channels that online identity thieves can use are, of course, social media or email. They can hack your account, so they can get access to your password in some way. There are many ways to do that, including like you are having a weak password, or there is some malware on your computer that is recording your password and sending it to someone, or they can even use what we call social engineering for that. So maybe someone calls you and they say, oh, hey, I'm Bob from the IT department, and there is a problem with your email. Can you please give me your password so I can reset it? And then you say, yeah, sure, here's my password, Bob. And there it goes. Another example is a clone account. So this is a totally different account. It's not your own account, but it's an account that looks very, very much like yours. We're going to go into that a bit later. Media, including, of course, video and pictures and audio. And of course, there is all the media manipulations techniques that are more traditional, but there's also AI-driven deepfake in these days, credentials, and so on. And what is the motivation for online identity theft? It can be a number or a combination of very many or different motivations. Of course, a very simple one is someone wants to hide their own identity, so they're using yours instead. Or they may just want to spread spam or advertisements or malware to your contacts. So they get hold of your Twitter or your Facebook account, and then they spam messages to your friends and say, oh, look, here is a very nice cat video I found. Take a look, but it's malware, or it's something that will result in their own identity being stolen, their own Facebook account being hacked and spreading. Like I mentioned before, with the phone scam, you can scam loved ones, friends, to get money, to get access to information, perhaps. And then, of course, there are also the more sinister, the more nefarious ones, if I may, like blackmail. So I'm going to post this in your account unless you give me money, or I'm going to post this video of you that is showing you doing inappropriate things or private things. And maybe that video is like completely fake, or maybe it's even real, but as long as someone has access to it and they can post it, they can blackmail you. Defamation. or character exploitation, especially if someone is a celebrity or a politician or someone whose character is well known and can influence people. You can even do revenge. And of course, you can do fake news. So fake news is much, much more believable if official channels spread it, if celebrities spread it, and so on. So you can get access to their identity and then spread the fake news that much more effectively. I'm going to go very briefly over some of the most prominent or interesting types of online identity theft, and then the following presentations will go even deeper into some of those. So, phishing, account takeover, identity cloning, and deepfakes. What is phishing? Phishing is when someone is using a deceptive email or perhaps a deceptive website, and that email or that website looks very, very much like the real thing. So it uses the same logos, the same names, the same structure. Like, for example, this Amazon email, it might look very, very much like the original thing. It has all the correct things and so on. But the links maybe point to somewhere else. They do not point at Amazon, even though the link says it's like www.amazon.com. Maybe if you click it, it goes somewhere else, and it goes someplace where some malware is downloaded to your computer, or it goes to a site that looks very much like Amazon, but is going to ask you for your credit card number and then use it for some like to get money out of you, or something like that. So the goal of phishing is to get you to reveal your personal information, like all of this, posing as something legit. Account takeover is what we said before. So someone gets hold of your password. They can use that to do financial harm, to breach your privacy, even to blackmail you, because now they know all your personal information, maybe your private emails, your private photos that are online on Google Photos or something like that. They can get access to your contact list and then use that to spam them or harm them, or try to do the same thing to them. And cloning is the identity thief is going to create a totally new profile. It's not your profile, so they don't have your password. It's another profile, but it looks very, very much like yours, because they have taken your profile pic, which is, of course, in the public domain, so they can easily get it. They can get your pictures, download them, and post them again. And so look at this example on the right. Someone is posing as that guy and says, oh, I lost access to my original account, so here is the new account, please follow that. And some people are going to fall for it, and they're going to stop following the original account and follow the new account, which is not controlled by Jake Moore. It's controlled by someone else. So if that guy Jake Moore has followers or has friends, or perhaps, I mean, he might not have 1,000 followers, but he might have 1 million ones, right? This can cause significant harm. I mean, of course, it can ruin someone's career if their career is based on social media, on followers, and so on. It can spread fake news. It can do all sorts of stuff. It can defame them. And finally, and I'm not going to go very deeply into that, it is media tampering. So media tampering is you've got an image or a video or a sound clip, something, and you can alter it. Of course, you can alter it with very traditional ways, like Photoshop is now traditional, of course. But there are now AI-driven approaches like deepfakes that can do much, much more realistic tampering of media. Or instead of tampering, you could also do a fully synthetic thing, a fully synthetic image or video that is based on some personality, like, for example, Vladimir Putin on the right. And of course, you can use all this to defame someone, to exploit their character, especially if they're celebrities or political leaders. This can have very serious implications, spread fake news, and even to do revenge on someone or blackmail them. So in the following sessions, we're going to talk a bit about all these other things. But before we do that, I would like to ask all the audience to use Slido and tell us if they were familiar with the concept of online identity theft. I mean, before this presentation. And is it something that has happened to you, or that has happened to your friends or relatives? Is it a new thing? Is it something that you think is a threat, or it's like very not important for you at the moment?
Thank you, Kostis. The question was put during your presentation, but it's good to leave more time for people now also to answer this. They can answer anonymously or with a name. So as you wish. I see that we have some answer coming in. It is important for us also, these questions. It's not only to make the presentation lively, but also for us that could give us some good indicators. So you will have this question after each of the presentation. So thank you for taking just a few seconds to answer those.
Perhaps if we have some answers already, we could read them out loud or discuss a bit for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, maybe Anthony, I don't know if you can give access to the results.
Yes, well, for the first question, have you ever heard of online identity theft? We have 16 votes. All the time, yes, or even 3 times, several times they heard about it. So I guess it's yeah, growing threat. People are informed more and more.
Okay.
And maybe I can switch to the other question. I also.
But I think, yeah, the other question should run during the presentation of Veronica, because it's a question on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am pleased now to give the floor to Veronica Moretti from University of Bologna, and she will tackle the aspect of the victim. What about the victim of online identity theft? So Veronica.
So thank you so much, Maria Cristina, and good morning to everyone. I will now go to the psychosocial space and dimension of online identity theft. There must be some, I'm trying to share, just give me 1 second. It basically says that I need to use, okay, apparently, of course, there is some troubles with sharing my presentation, so.
Passing you privileges.
Thanks a lot.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Normally no need, but I think you should be able to do so.
It says that I need a more, recent version of Chrome or Firefox, despite we tried yesterday, Anthony. So of course it's.
Of Chrome or but okay.
I mean, if you want, you can share if we still have trouble, I'm
yes,
fine.
I can share it. Right.
Yeah. So thanks. And I apologize for this inconvenience, but as a sociologist, this is happening all the time, to be quite honest with you. So.
Don't worry. So I closed, just so the audience know, I closed the voting for the first question, and now I launch the other poll about have you or someone you know ever been a victim. And now I share the presentation.
Thanks. Okay, great. So this second presentation, as Marie-Christine already announced and as Kostis already mentioning, is, I think, a clear-cut introduction about this, pretty serious and fast-growing crime. This second part will be devoted to the unlucky protagonists or main characters of the online identity theft, which are victims. As I was saying at the beginning of my speech, I will try to give you a small snapshot of psychosocial dimension and psychosocial consequences. And if we move to the next slide, I will show three points, three assumptions when we deal with victims. So first of all, who are them? So who are the people who experience as a frontline, subject this type of crime? What are the main risks and consequences? So working with the psychosocial dimension, of course, involved considering not only certain type of consequences, but all the networks embedded in this type of crimes, all the feelings, all the even physical and mental drawbacks and side effects. And as a last point, I put in a really optimistic way future action. And this last point, I think we should call it in conclusion, since with our project we try to and we hope to achieve some strategy to not only prevent future online identity theft crime, but also to heal what for the people that are already being a victim of this crime. So starting from the first point, and I will give you some premises. I'm sure I promise I will keep it short, since Costi already did a great job on this. But as I was saying, this type of crime, of course, has an increase and was really and was particularly a fast-growing crime, because the presence of technology and the digital connection we have in our life. We know that we cannot say anymore that we divided our everyday life into online and offline, but we are basically living in what we can call an on-life sphere, because we do most of our action online. So the literature and of course many research show data and the potential impact of this type of crime, considering different perspectives. However, very little is known about those people who experience this type of victimization, how they dealt with the fact that they have been victimized, and how they find even some practical solution to just fix what happened in their life. What is interesting, and that's one point that I will spoil you immediately, is that this type of crime is one crime that you don't really want to talk about, because most of the time you feel ashamed for what happened to you, because most of the time the first question victim of this type of crime ask themselves are how could I have been so stupid, and how could I have been so trusting? So it's not something that right, I was I don't really want to say it loud, because I was just someone stole my identity because I did something, because I have an active role in this. So most of the time victims tend to use coping strategy, deny or minimize these negative experiences and consequence that they have in their life. So moving to the next slide, Anthony, thanks a lot. I don't want to talk so much about data, because I know that you probably have more, you're better than I am in terms of knowing statistics. But what is interesting here, and that's why it's, just I put it in bold, is 92% of victims, they don't report the experience of online identity theft. So this number is really, really dangerous in terms of the hidden number of people that they they don't want to, or because they couldn't do, or because most of the time they even didn't know that they were victim of online identity theft. So I think that this number should be a starting point, not only for our, webinar of this morning, but for a more broad reflection of the phenomenon and of the, the huge impact of this in our digital society. If you go to the next slide, Anthony, please. Talking about who are the victims, I know that it can be really, it's a really difficult categorize when we talk about this type of thing, because as you can see in the next slide, thanks. I put here a reflection. Actually, I was thinking about, because when we talk about online identity theft, we can basically have multiple ideas of victim. Of course, we have what we can call like a non-humans victim, meaning that social media profiles, some data, including medical ones, even bank can be, vulnerable and victims of something, considering that our life and our profiles, if we want to consider them as a sort of prosthesis of ourselves, they become victim as well. So we should protect them. But of course, we tend to focus on, in our project, but also like in a more broad reflection on people, so victims that experience, that human actors that experience this type of experience. Unluckily, but this is also a trend, unfortunately, in criminology and also sociology, some people have more opportunity to become victim. And especially this is visible. I will present you in a short time some social demographic characteristics of victims. And most of the time are associated with age, as I put here in the slides. Older or young people tend to be more victimized. So if we move to the next slide, and if you remember the number I gave you, the 92% of people, they don't report to being, victim of online identity theft. This means some practical challenges for us, that we are doing something to, fight this problem, but for all of us embedded in the society, because as Kostis was saying, and as you probably have, answered to the question, have you or someone ever been a victim? So meaning that this is not something that is so far from our real experience or from our daily life. If we start posing questions to our networks, we probably will catch someone that, or more than one people that have experienced this online identity theft. So as I was saying, some people are more reluctant to admit that they've been victimized, but other people are also hard to reach, because maybe they have some physical or social what we call like disability, in terms of that they cannot have access to some information, or because they remote geographical location, because maybe they don't belong to some social elites, because maybe they don't have a high level of education. So they are really vulnerable in a double sense. First, because they have been a victim of crime, and second, because they are really difficult to reach and to adjust and fix their situation. When I say fix or adjust, of course, I'm not all simply referring to from a law perspective or from, a jurisdictional perspective, but also from like what people have felt and what people have experienced. Some people also experience stigma, and other have other type of constraints or barriers that we cannot really, overcome so easily. So why it's crucial, and why I'm so, honored and glad to be part and be involved of this project, because we have the opportunity, we leave a huge space from, analyzing our, social and psychosocial component. So, studying why someone is more prone to be victimized is crucial, is fundamental for prevention, not only, the communication campaign, but even like for the more like prevention phase. So moving to the next slide, how we can reach them. Of course, we are developing some strategies, we are developing some techniques to just explore the really, the huge realm of internet. So in this sense, we are using internet even from, like the positive side. So the silver lining of the online identity theft being online could be also like reach these people online. So trying to involve them and try to ask them their participation using the network strategy. So what is important, what is fundamental, and not only for us as a researcher, but for law enforcement agency, for all the people working with other people and human subjects, is try to establish a trust relationship, try to listen to them, try to understand their position, which is not easy, try to develop more empathetic connection with these people once we reach them. Moving to the next slide, and a second point, what are the main risks and consequences? And I'm sorry, I know and apologize to all of you because I just put consequences in 2 slides, but I know that we will need a handbook probably to summarize the main consequences. But since we, as Marie-Christine already mentioned, we started this project 1 year ago, we are progressing so fast, and we are reaching some interesting goals and data about this. So main consequences, and this is coming not only from our study in previous research and literature, but also from our more empirical research we are carrying out now. Beside the financial losses, which is of course is that has a big an impact on our everyday life. Because as we statistic reported, people spend at least from 15 to 30 hours solving financial problems related to identity theft. And of course, this also lead to a crazy amount of stress. Sometimes that will also lead to a burnout to the person that has to not only be a victim of crime, spending time to solve what happened, and then, just keep going with this. So the consequences cannot only economic, but also I was saying psychosocial. And Anthony, thanks. I probably already mentioned most of them, but again, stressor resulting in negative emotions such as depression, anxiety, feeling, ashamed, being that you isolate yourself, you stop talking to your network, you don't want to share these, and not sharing with your networks means that you don't have even find practical solution or emotional support. So that's really important. And Anthony, if we can go, I put here and try to summarize what are the categories that are more prone to be victim of online identity theft, but also categories that suffer the most being victim of this type of crime. Women, of course, women tend to be the most, according to some research, the one that suffer most fear of crime, because we still live in a society where technology is still like man-related, realm more than the women. So women have more opportunity to become, victim of online identity theft, but at the same time experience more fear of crime. As I was saying before, age, although online identity theft, we saw that is a really democratic crime because it's tend to, just being experienced by different ages, but older people and young people tend to be more prone and inclined to be this type of victims because they have probably, especially old people, less digital skills, less awareness of how to, manage and move into the online sphere. If we move to the next slide, we see that socioeconomic status is really relevant because research demonstrates that group with higher disadvantages feel more afraid offline, but at the same time feel more ashamed to say that, oh, you know what, I've been, victim of online identity theft. Someone stole my bank account, someone stole money from me, and such as. So they also present the highest level of fear of crime. So meaning that we should pay a lot of attention of this type of population, this type of target. Another category that we will find in the next slide is I'm sorry. So no, it's okay, Anthony. I just forgot to say. So I can say to you, I can mention, not reading from the slide, is, as I was saying, like related to the level of education. Most of the time, people with a high level of education try to be more equipped in terms of how to react to some and be, proactive for what they experience. Last point, and I'm sorry if I run out of the time, future actions, or what I call in conclusion, and why this project matters a lot. So here I reported in quotation some, extract from our interviews to experts, and they say that infrastructures or platforms are critical for prevention. So we should invest a lot in terms of financial resources, working effort in try to prevent and try to have this infrastructure more safe. Multi-country cooperation, of course, we are in a global society. Everything is really interconnected, so is also like our mobility and our, connection with the other country, and this of course will be a nice strategy to have this law enforcement agency effort more stronger. Artificial intelligence could be useful to be proactive. More information could help prevent theft, but also raising awareness. And I'm so glad, because with this webinar, probably we started this last point, and we could promote a more awareness and campaign of information about the theft. And the last slide, digital natives are sometimes more, as I was saying, they have more digital skills. So from the IT point of view, we should pay attention to some certain vulnerable categories that we know are sometimes age-related. Victim participation is often crucial in the implementation of online identity theft strategies, so try to have more a co-creative, a co-productive approach and strategy. The presence of psychologists, of course, during interview with police is needed, but also other type of figures, a lawyer and other networks. But this last point for me was particularly important to say that involving the people who suffer as a front line in the first, protagonist could be really fundamental. And that would be the last slide, I promise. If you need more information, you have, here is my mail, and there is our coordinator email. And now, Anthony, I know that you will post some questions that I prepared to you that, of course, are really difficult to answer. I don't know if I haven't answered myself, but maybe you could give us a lot of nice inputs. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Veronica. So I see that there was one question that was put. I don't know if you have some other, Anthony. Are there some other questions?
Yes, I will put a new one. There are two more.
Because that could help us for our research. I mean, the research in the project.
Yes. So the first question will be, what might be some actions to prevent online identity theft? And I will put the question in the poll. All right. So you can answer the poll. So what might be some actions to prevent online identity theft? And yes, maybe we can discuss what Sergi from PUB said in the last session in the Q&A. But yeah, the percentage of 92 is incredible.
Yeah.
So we can all see the answers we're receiving more and more. And again, we can discuss it in the last session, in the Q&A session, because I see some personal experience in the poll.
Can you put at the same time the next one, if there is another one related to Veronica?
Yes.
Or we have to go one by one?
I think it will be one by one, but I can still.
Okay. Because I see that some people are still answering
Yes.
the question. So yes.
Yeah, the next question will be, what kind of support can be promoted for victims of online identity theft?
In order to keep the time, maybe we should put this question also available and open during the next presentation.
Yes.
So we're going to move to some more technological aspect of online identity theft, and I would like to give the floor to Miguel Barbero Alvarez from Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, who will present the cutting-edge technology for tackling online identity theft. So Miguel, you can share your presentation and the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Marie-Christine. Thank you very much. As said, I am Miguel Barbero Alvarez from the University of Madrid, the Polytechnical one. And first of all, if you at some point hear some loud noise around me, I give deep apologies for it, but today is a national holiday and there might be planes flying around where I live. So I can't avoid it. But just let's hope that it does not happen. So yeah. I'm also the manager of the technological research part of EITHOS, and I'm aware that our distinguished audience may not be of different parts and different fields in disciplines, so I have made this to explain the concepts on a more conceptual and social level rather than to delve too much into the mathematical and technical part. So let's continue. Before I start explaining the technologies, I want to acknowledge the following concepts that may be useful to understand what I'm going to explain afterwards. I want to distinguish between the theft of personal and financial details and the supplantation. The theft of personal and financial details online, it's something similar than what my companion Kostis has explained before. It consists in the criminal using a digital lure in order to that the victim may fall in that lure and giving their details out, which the criminal will get afterwards. The methods can be very varied, and many of them have been mentioned before, like the typical spam mail, the phishing, blackmailing, etc. And of course, the purpose of this method consists in not only in getting the knowledge by the criminal from the victim's details, but also giving them the possibilities of stalking, blackmailing, their own impersonation to get privileges that the victim may have, like financial details or medicinal details or any kind of possibilities that the criminal wants to take advantage of. And the supplantation goes a step forward in which the criminal getting the details extracted by the lure forges a completely different personality out of them. This has some implications that it might be a whole new personality that the criminal can use as a screen to hide their own illegal activities, or impersonating the victim by using their details by personal enjoyment that may be like a misguided enjoyment in the sense that they enjoy bullying or damaging the public image of the victim, or just because they really find a kind of twisted pleasure in doing those things. As a part of supplantion, technological mean that has been very trendy these years have been the deepfakes, which have been introduced by my companion Kostis before. I'm sure that our distinguished audience has heard about deepfakes before. They are trendy nowadays, and they basically consist in the imitating a personal, the details of a person, be it the physical appearance or the voice or other biometrical appearance, imitated by using powerful artificial intelligence and deep learning techniques. And then you can see the two parts of the deepfake definition. The fake one, that is the forging of a real identity based on a real one, and the deep one consists in the mixed solution on the that it is made with artificial intelligence and deep intelligence and deep learning methods. Before I continue, I want to mention that deepfakes are not only used for criminal activities, but they also can have other artistic implications, as you can see here in this example. If you have seen the movie Rogue One of the Star Wars franchise, you would for sure notice that the character of the Princess Leia, that is made by Carrie Fisher, appears here in her young version, which has been imitated using a deepfake, because Carrie Fisher at that moment was more aged and she wouldn't have the same appearance as when she was 40 years younger. In that sense, deepfakes can also be powerful and interesting for other artistic and enjoyment, more innocent enjoyment resources, but also that arises some legal implications about copywriting and so, which I will be not explaining right now because it's not on the scope of our presentation, but it is important to take them into account because still it's something that is regulated and it is as controversial as it is useful. Speaking about deepfakes, I want to introduce first the technologies that make the image and video deepfakes possible. In today's state of art, there are two main currents of image and video deepfakes, which I enumerated here. That is the face swapping and the face reenactment. The face swapping, I'm sure you have seen many of these examples in the internet and media, and I'm going to show an example afterwards that you will have the honor to evaluate and give your answer in the questions. That consists in the changing the face of somebody using these artificial intelligence techniques. And also the face reenactment goes another step forward in which the direct face of the person is manipulated to change their features in a way the criminal or the artist, depending on the case, want to make it. On the right, you can see an example of one of the tools that exist in the internet. Some of them are free, and all of them are you need to pay for them. Many of them are used by criminals in real life. It is certainly a mathematically interesting way of image processing, which I will be explaining more in the next slide. The basis of the image and video deepfakes consists in the extraction of two mathematical features in a face, which I renamed for this presentation in order to make them more understandable for the general public as the identity and the expression. The identity consists in the particular features of one person that are denotative of them in all the points of their life and time. You would see, you could imagine, you see a person and you would say, recognize them immediately by their features. That would be the identity, as in the shape of the face, the shape of the eyes, the position of the different attributes of the different parts of their face, as the lips, the nose, the harmony, all the features are put, and then the expression, which is a kind of feature that is only temporarily. This could be more prosaically explained as an expression of happiness, of sadness, or whatever, that is denotative of one person in that moment. Of course, it depends on the identity. but they are two mathematically distinguished, and they both are employed differently for doing the deep fakes. If you see the example in the center, you would see that the image of the right, on the bottom row of the right, is a manipulated image that takes the identity of the person in the left and manipulates it to get the physical attributes of the person in the center. With more or less success, there are more powerful and less powerful techniques to do that, but they give a good example of the function of this tendency. In the role of EITHOS, we take advantage of the mathematical basis of this phenomenon to train artificial intelligence models to recognize these mathematical features and exploit them in order to determine if an image has used them to recognize if it's a deepfake or not. And continuing, this is the example I wanted to challenge you to show which one of these two Zelenskys is the fake one. In 2022, a video of Volodymyr Zelensky appeared in which he was made to say that he wanted his troops to surrender. Of course, that was manipulated. It was in the scope of the Russo-Ukrainian war, a manipulation in order to damage his image, in his public image, and also to find for the criminals to achieve some kind of target. Please take attention to both images and feel free to answer of which one of these two you think is the fake one. Again, I give you a hint. Take note of the expression and how the different features of the face of Zelensky are put in his face. I would.
I launched the vote, so people are typing.
Perfect. So, but image and video are not the only one kind of deepfake that can be found. Also, audio and voice are something trendy. Audio and voice are, mathematically speaking, a signal of information that has different features that are denotative of one person and their voice, and also how the message is stuttered. So there are also two techniques that are of interest to take into account when dealing with them, which is the text-to-speech voice synthesis, in which a text written in a computer is interpreted by artificial intelligence on how it is pronounced. So basically, as you can see in the image on the top, you write hi, and the artificial intelligence knows how the H and the I and the combination in the English language have to be pronounced. And it produces a signal of noise and of voice that is similar to how, and with more or less success, on how people say hi in English. And the second one is the voice conversion, in which these two characteristics are combined, in which a message stuttered by one person is modified to get the voice characteristics of another person. So the message is not altered, but the characteristics are really altered. Of course, this is not always perfect. There's always a degree of not confidence on how, at least recognizable by a trained person, on how an audio is artificial or not. And again, with the examples in the next slide, I want you to challenge you to recognize which ones are the real ones and which ones are the artificial ones. I will show you in the top row some audios that are, the first one is the real one, and the three ones are faked. And then I want to challenge you with the bottom row to see which Kamala Harris is the true one and which one is the fake one, and which Mark Zuckerberg is the true one and which Mark Zuckerberg is the fake one. So let's start with the genuine example of a female voice in audio. Take a look, pay attention to the details on how the audio is stuttered.
They were not complacent in any way.
I will play it again.
They were not complacent in any way.
So this is the real one. And this is one text-to-speech synthesis. Remember, the computer translates a written text into voice.
Problems are likely to be caused politically for both governing bodies by such a move.
I'm sure you can recognize that it sounds artificial and mechanical.
Problems are likely to be caused politically for both governing bodies by such a move.
Okay. The next one.
After the ceremony, there will be a civic reception hosted by Glasgow City Council and the City Chambers.
As you can see, it's really still sounds artificial.
After the ceremony, there will be a civic reception hosted by Glasgow City Council and the City Chambers.
And this one is the voice conversion, in which one another message is modified to get the voice characteristics of the speaker. If the mouse wants to, yes.
The scientist who led the research suspects the same could happen in humans.
Again?
The scientist who led the research suspects the same could happen in humans.
Okay. As you have noticed, the pace and the rhythm and the cadence of the voice are not natural. It's more or less constant with no pauses for breathing, with the natural flow of somebody speaking like I'm doing right now is broken. And of course, any kind of artifacts that are in the voice, as an artifacts, I mean the effects of a voice when it is spoken in a room or in an exterior also modified. And now I show you the challenge with the first audio of Kamala Harris.
Opportunities there to fulfill their basic needs, like.
And we'll play it again.
Opportunities there to fulfill their basic needs, like.
And then the second one.
Lisa says she doesn't mean it as a compliment. If that's so, as an ordinary suburban housewife, I'm starting to feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
And again.
Lisa says she doesn't mean it as a compliment. If that's so, as an ordinary suburban housewife, I'm starting to feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
Okay. And now with Mark Zuckerberg.
Our impulse is often to pull back on free expression.
And again.
Yeah, if you can just wait a little bit so people can vote for the real or fake one.
No, it's the question goes for the two of them, but well.
Yes.
Our impulse is often to pull back on free expression.
Okay. And now the second one.
Which 30-bit chips by reams or triremes, but many smaller vote among themselves, and these chips, about 3,000 men, vote in addition to the rowers.
I'm sure you see that with this case, it's more difficult to distinguish. So I'm really looking forward to see your judgment over this one.
Which 30-bit chips by reams or triremes, but many smaller vote among themselves, and these chips, about 3,000 men, vote in addition to the rowers.
All right. So now let's continue with the presentation. The implications of deepfakes in world. You have for sure noticed that it's a very powerful tool that can be useful as a scientific research and for artistic purposes and for other services. For instance, the voice deepfakes can be used for audiobooks or any kind of assistance to people with hearing disabilities too, but they also are sadly widely employed for criminal activity, with examples as the ones I've told before, like not only helping to the supplantation, but also for the personal data theft, manipulation, the damaging of the public image, blackmailing, propaganda, etc., which, of course, put in peril the status quo and the situation of our society, which we want to preserve and help to protect. So in the scope of EITHOS, we firmly believe that for addressing the deepfake in the similar fashion as Veronica has mentioned before, it is necessary to have an education on the topic, which requires a collaborative effort by different parts, as the law agents, the forensics experts, and of course the politics in the sense of regulation, of establishing campaigns, and the general public needs also to know how to spot them. The examples I've given are sparse, although representative, and it would be very useful to make the examples of this kind with their explanations available for the public to understand, especially for the people that are not digitally native, in order to avoid and take more care of their details online. And as a conclusion, I want to say the corollary of supplantation, which is the fake profiles in social media or botnets. I want to explain what a social botnet is. The suffix net may give hints on that it consists on a network of computers, and that is not entirely wrong. A botnet consists in a group of programs or computers managed by the same criminal party that does attacks en masse and with the goal of getting the thief of details or impersonating people. The social botnets are these kind of bots, as we call automated users in social media that do this kind of supplantation of personality or the lures that I've explained before in order to make the victims fall into their tricks. I'm sure you, when you surf through social media, you see many suspicious profiles with activities that look odd, and probably these are social media. Many popular ones of them are either money or cryptocurrency related or sexuality related, which we explain with examples afterwards. But luckily, they are still relatively not difficult to exploit, considering their repeated patterns on how they behave. Social botnets are characterized by their massive spread, their spamming of links. The links are the lures that I've been talking about. The spamming, they try to reach as most people as possible. Of course, the phishing, and by the behavioral online, they use the auto-generic random text, which are artificially generated. And of course, in the last years, they take advantage of the media deepfakes in order to make the victims that are sadly not much educated in the topic to fall for their supposed real personality. In the scope of EITHOS, we combine the possibilities of detecting deepfakes with an analysis of the online behavioral of users in social media and text analysis in order to detect this kind of attack in different kinds of social media. And lastly, I want to show some examples on how these botnets act. You can spot them by appearance of the profile and their behavioral. Their appearance, you can see the example of the fake Jennifer Lawrence on the left, that of the usage of faked images or the re-downloaded images of the real personality they want to impersonate. And this gives an impression of being how we call in the internet fried images, which mean that images that have been downloaded and re-uploaded to the internet many times, so they have undergone a kind of an additional codification, which makes them look of a lower quality than the usual high quality of the pictures that celebrities usually upload in social media. Of course, it is very denotative to spot at the usernames the addendums or strange symbols in the put on their usernames. If you can see in the example, you see the .I after the Jennifer Lawrence name, which means that, of course, the Jennifer Lawrence one is taken. So in order to not repeat it, they have to make a name that sounds similar to the real one, but not exactly the same one. So if you spot a profile with strange addendums to its words, probably it's a bot. Of course, they use keywords that allude to advertising, to money, to cryptocurrency, to sexual innuendos, and all those things in order to lure the, let's say it in an educated way, the hedonistic parts of the users in social media to fall for the trap. When talking about the behavioral, it's remarkable to see how, if you see the example of the Keanu Reeves, the fake Keanu Reeves on the right, and the way they inquire when talking with people, their flow of conversation does not look natural at all, in the sense that they do not follow a kind of topic. They just want to know things about you. So they ask more or less directly. They also send you links directly. If you see at the username, you also will spot the numbers and then say at the same side of the name, which already hint that he is fake. And a phenomenon of bots in social media is either they put many posts in a short amount of time, or they don't have any posts, or only one, which is already suspicious, as you can see here that he has 0 posts. And only 1 follower, which means that, of course, only a real celebrity or a real personality will have, of course, more than one follower in social media. And of course, the WIDI website you see in the example in the center, you will see the examples of the suspicious links and the allusions to cryptocurrency, which makes it suspicious. And also, if you pay attention to the profile picture, you will see that the quality is not really of the highest one that the internet can offer. So I don't know if I got out of the time slot that I had, but it was really a pleasure to share insight on the topic to all of you, and I hope you found it as interesting as it was for me presenting it to you.
Thanks, Miguel. Maybe we can just go back to the questions you asked to the audience because I have some answers. Maybe you can tell us which picture of Zelensky, which audio of Kamala and Mark are the good ones.
We cannot wait for the good answer. We want to know.
Okay, so I'm going to share again. And I will show. Okay, regarding Zelensky, the fake one is the one in the left. The algorithm that provokes deep fakes also might alter the quality of the image. So if you can see, the quality of the image is a bit low, and especially if you pay attention to the face, then if you see in the video, it may be more obvious, but the placement of the eyes and the whole general expression is, albeit very similar to the real one, it looks a bit more odd than the real one. Like the eyes can be a bit displaced, the features do not have something in the air that do not look properly good. Also, in this case, it's not the example, but if the image of the deepfake has characters or letters at the back, they will also more likely be altered. So if you, this is like with the Cyrillic alphabet, but for the example, if we had the Greek or the Latin alphabet, we would see that perhaps the letters are a bit altered with respect of how they would look in real life. This is also a big hint on that. And of the audios, the first Kamala Harris is the true one.
Opportunities there to fulfill their basic needs, like
you can notice that it's the effects of being spoken in a conference hall are very notable. And this one is the fake one.
Lisa says she doesn't mean it as a compliment. If that's so,
if
as
you
an
notice,
ordinary
this has
suburban
been made
housewife,
by text-to-speech.
I'm starting to feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
The criminal wants to imitate, and the unnatural rhythm is the one that is the most denotative for this example. And of Mark Zuckerberg, pay attention to this one.
Our impulse is often to pull back on free expression.
The echo. Pay attention to the echo. The echo is it denotes that it's the true one. And the voice conversion deepfake wants to mathematically compensate the echo, and it passes a filter, as we called it in engineering, that tries to dim the effects and that also dims the voice.
Which 30-bit chips by reams or triremes, but many smaller float among themselves, and these chips about 3,000 min float in addition to the rowers.
If you hear it, you can't hear the echo anymore, but also the voice is a bit weaker, and it does not sound of the quality it was this one too. Of course, there are many examples on and features on how to spot audio deepfakes. It would be necessary to make them available to the public to make them understand on how to spot them.
Thanks, Miguel. Especially for the last one, it was not that obvious because on 17 votes, 59% had the right answer. So 41% of the 17 voters got a mistake here. So thanks.
Yeah, of course, because it's voice conversion, and voice conversion is more difficult to spot than text-to-speech. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I give spot to the next presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Miguel. Now we're going to move to presentation from some law enforcement authority. We are lucky to have in our project the Swedish Police Authority. They're going to present modern and evolving threats because we all know about online identity theft, but it's a landscape that is moving very rapidly. And that was mentioned already a few times with the use of artificial intelligence as well. So Björkset, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will just try to find my presentation. So let's see. Yes, and on the meantime, it's great to be here. And it should be great if I can open my presentation. Oh.
Bjorn, if you can click on the bottom for the diaporama.
Yeah, I will see. I'm in picture right now.
It's not full screen, but if you go on the bottom next to the percentage of zoom, yeah, here, this one, yeah.
Great. So then we start again. Yes, I'm Björn Schett from Swedish. Sorry?
I'm sorry, Bjorn. You're still sharing the not full screen sized one. Yes. So if you want to share the full screen sized one, you should stop the sharing and then select the full screen size window, because there's a new window that has appeared.
Okay. I will go there. So hopefully, is it working?
Not yet.
Oh,
incredible, strange. It looks like my connection are searching right now.
Do you want me to share the presentation, Bjorn, or?
Yeah, I see that my computer are searching. It will not connect. So please,
okay,
go ahead.
Yep. I just launched a poll question because I won't be able to do so during the presentation. Linked to your presentation. Okay, so.
So, right, great. Okay, I'll start again then. My name is Björn Schett from the Swedish Police, working at the National Fraud Center. And as it sounds that we follow the fraud development quite closely. And we can take the next picture, please. We have been into this with the social engineering. This is quite interesting. When I'm thinking back for a few years, during 2015, I think it was, on that time, I had to go out on internet to search what is social engineering and what it's meant. What is it? But I mean, today we all have good idea what this is. So we can take the next one. Human hacking, I think that's a quite good word for what it's about. It's really a human hacking. I mean, most people will not directly think that somebody want to hurt you. You will be polite. You don't want to be unpolite to people, and you have some sort of trust to them. So it's some sort of our natural behaviors. You can take next. Next, please. This unauthorized identity use, that is mainly what I mean with what we're talking about right now with identity theft. And as we heard in the previous presentation, the fraudster has a huge menu to choose about what kind of modus he or she want to use. It's a fantastic menu of possibilities. But I will more focus on use of the victim's own digital identification, also identity, but how we can trick people to use the digital identification to the fraudster. That means that the victim are using all the steps by themselves to let the fraudster in and totally can empty your account. So we can take next, please. Next also, we have the changes, the challenges we have to go for. As in my first line, we are living in a totally new economic landscape. It's combined with digital development and it's moving incredibly fast. I would say it's rapidly fast. It is change. If you're just thinking what's happening in the around us by the moment, all the new payment solutions, you have all the digital wallets, you have more mobile payment, you have third-party providers, cryptocurrencies, real-time transactions. It's a huge change how we're living our life just in the last 10 years. And it's, as I said, incredibly fast forward. We have to learn all the way. And our criminals are, of course, the first to try out, to find out, have all the time to test the new solutions, and they can test it again and again until they find a possibility to trick you. And then quick as, yes, this will be spread like a crime as a service. It will be a copycat very fast until we find the solutions. So they are the first to learn every new step what we have. So next, please. And this is what we're coming to also a little bit later in my presentation, that if I say the average citizen, how is it possible to understand what's happening right now? Some of our citizens are not really interested in the new development. They maybe don't want the new development and have also hard to learn it. So that will be the next line, please. So all our development and implementation really needs to go hand in hand with the user. And that's a very important point we have learned in my country anyhow, that we can't forget it. And for the future, I mean, the future is already started, and we have heard that in the presentation before. We have this AI revolution coming, and we can see it already that it has started, of course. We have some extortion, blackmailing, telephone calls to people, pretend to maybe be, "Hi, mommy, I'm at a high risk. You have to pay some sort of fee." That is already ongoing. And if you're looking at fraud cases more, we can see that all this more classical trick, like pretend to be a friend via some social contact network. We have seen some of the cases coming already that you have some cloned voices to pretend to be a friend or relatives, and they are in need to have some sort of payment made. Not that much in some, maybe some for 600 euros cases like that. And the next step we're really looking for right now, and see what the development will be, it's when we are all maybe familiar with the business email compromise fraud. It was a huge problem during 2015-16 with the so-called CEO fraud, where somebody pretend to be from the branch office, a CEO, and demand some of the employees to make a huge transaction, and it's should be done the same day. On that time, it was with more like email contacts, and now we know that the next thing will of course be to clone some sort of the CEO's voice or some clues to the CEO. So it will be very hard for companies in the future to sort out if first off you have maybe the mail conversation, and the next step you also have the voice communication, sounds exactly as a real person, and of course you have also with the video possibility to make everything as hard as possible to find out for the companies in the beginning, in the future. So you have to look at this very carefully, what is going on and how we can protect us forward. You can take next, please. This is also all the what you're looking for right now for making safe identification for yourself when you have your digital identity. And I will more or only go into your digital identity right now. We're always talking about the multi-factor authentication, and that means that you have your device for your digital identity, in this case in a mobile telephone, and this is something you have in your hand. And the next step is to have an extra secure layer, is also have something you are that could be with some sort of biometric system, fingerprint, maybe could be also like a short video chat for your face. It depends on what solution you're into. And in the third step, you should have something that only you know. And that could be my password in this example, a little bit too easy maybe. But all these three things together should make it safe, that we can see that it's you are logging in. It's only you. If you lose your telephone, your device, well, then you can go to something you are. Or if somebody see you in logging and take your telephone, still something you are could not be stolen in that way as we see it right now. But in these cases, it's not good enough when you go into the next picture. And that is, we're talking about use of the victim's own identification. As I said before the fraudster get the victim to do every step by themselves. And I will give you some sort of example what we see right now in our development. But the first main thing is that the contact will be over telephone or via SMS communication, and then into telephone call or telephone communication. And often it's like somebody pretend to be from something that could be trustful or reliable. And it's also about a reasonable matter that sounds that this is reasonable. And in the end, some sort of urgent, or you have to do some sort of action, immediately almost. And in this component, the fraudster will mislead you to use your digital identity, identification. It could be, there are different kinds of digital identity out on the market. But for example, bank ID. And when you use that, mislead to use it in the wrong way, you open up for the fraudster and will then empty your account. Not just one transaction, just empty it if you're unlucky. And what we have seen here, we have, you can see it's mainly in the beginning, it has been the older people, the older generation that has become victim for this type of fraud. And just to give some example, it could be that a telephone company call you, your own telephone company, and they have a deal right now, and it's the last day for this opportunity, and they have forgot to call you before, and they can see that they will offer you a pension discount on 6.5 euro a month, and that sounds great. And by the way, because they have missed out to contact you before, you are also allowed to have a refund on 125 euro, for example. And for the pension, the old people, it sounds reasonable. Yes, why not? I'm interested of this. And the only thing you have to do for get this deal is to identify, make your own identify. And during the speak, the telephone company, of course, have get out your personal information, also what kind of bank you have. And in the meantime, start in-logging with your information and to your right bank. And the only thing it's needed now is to make that you have your digital identification that you can open up the bank. It could be, for example, via a QR code who is on your internet screen. And the pension are tricked then to make identification for first himself, and in a second step for have this 125 euro into his account at his own bank. So in this time, he has no idea what he's doing. He's making the identification in 2 steps. The 2 steps will be that the first, you're letting in the fraudster on the bank account, and in the second step, you also make the transaction out from your account, and you have no idea what's happened. That has been for a while.
We have no sound anymore, Björn. Björn, we cannot hear you. Can anyone hear Björn?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you. Okay.
Yes.
You can keep going, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some sort of have the possibility to rent apartment. In this case, also a nice talk, also some sort of personal information. As a landlord, you might want to know who is the possible renter, and also what kind of bank do you have, because if they should meet the next day, the landlord would like to have a credit control for you to see that you could pay the coming for the coming months. So this credit control sounds reasonable for the student, and for make that credit control, you have to identify yourself, and in this case also sending a QR code, and you think you are allowed the landlord to have a credit control made, but you have to clarify and identify yourself for this credit control should be done. And you have to do it, otherwise he will not meet you next day. He will rent it out for some other persons. So we see this in different layers. It's older generation student. We can also see it by entrepreneurs. You get an SMS from some sort of bank security department that is something going on in your account, and you must immediately contact them. And you contact the telephone number, and you have the same procedure again. That first you have to identify it yourself, and you do different steps, and you let the fraudster in to your account. So we are working hard with this on awareness and some sort of awareness information. I will come to that next, but all the time we're thinking about and saying the unexpected. You get some sort of unexpected contact from an unknown person in some sort of urgent. in connection to you have to do something. That is all the warnings signals we can see. And the development for this in-log, for example, with the QR code from the beginning, it was not a QR code, it was just identification. After a while, they could see that you could let the fraudster in 400 kilometers away from where you're sitting. No connection between your mobile device to your screen. So in that way, you implemented a QR code to have this connection that you are reading it. You're sitting on the same spot where you are logged in. Well, the fraudsters find out the trick for that. So in communication and in social engineering to trick the people, they said, okay, I will send you a QR code on SMS, so you can please read that one. Yes, so in the next step, you have to find out that the QR code has to be moving. And then they can find out that we can go via FaceTime communication in real-time communication and send the QR code for you and still make you do anything. You have all the warnings, of course, in your mobile telephone that you say what is happening. But in the speak with the fraudster, they really don't read it and don't understand what it means that you are logging into your bank. The fraudster just say, oh, well, it's the way it must be because you will have the refund to your bank. So you must log in and then €125 will be sent, or some other tricks. So this is going on in different layers, and it's as I said in the beginning, the fraudster are the fastest to see what kind of new possibilities could be useful. I can take next, please. So this will be some thought in the end here that I would say that in the past, not really in the past, but the open society has been the major problem for us anyway, for how you can get all personal information, how you can make social engineering on the internet. You can find the most thing about the different people, where they're working, you have all the contact information, where they're living, telephone number, you have even when they are born, you can see the most things, and you can also call the tax authorities and get some or other information. So you can make a quite nice social engineering just with open sources and what is possible. Could be different in different countries, of course. But now we see the development right now is more like the person himself is the weak link. It could be a strong identification system. It could be a perfect mobile bank identification system. It could be perfect in the both line, but the weak link are yourself, because you have no idea what's going on, and you are not updated, and you don't understand the new digital world. So you can hit next, please. So I will also go as the other speakers. Crime prevention, information, education, before introducing new solutions, possibilities must go hand in hand. We have learned that. I have not information in red, and that doesn't mean that information is not important. It's only that it's very hard to reach everybody with information and also get people to understand what the information means. So in that context, more like education for people when they get a new solution in their hands, especially people that maybe are the older generation, are not born into the digital life, have it not naturally. And we have this protect yourself from scam calls. We have been out for, we had sent 1.2 million postcards to every citizen with the age over 70, just to get them more aware of what is going on. 80% of them have been reading this information, and 60% have them by the telephone. Just to be aware if you get some sort of telephone calls. And then it's the question, has it helped? Yes, a little bit. But often when you get a telephone call, you will not think that will be something that you hurt you, and you forget because you get so involved in the communications. Often people say that, yes, I know about it, but it was so real, so I forgot to think about it. So we can also go for next, please. And that was my last pictures. 15 minutes are a very short time to go through. You can go back to the next picture, please. As I said, that the time goes very fast when you have this presentation. Normally, you can talk about every step in this for easily an hour. But we see that this is some sort of difference happen just to have the fraud to let you do every step by yourself. A little bit harder, and it's also like some sort of difference in the vector before. If you're going back to maybe more identity theft, where the fraudster are doing your unauthorized, for example, e-commerce purchases. Other takes the risk. But in this development, the victim often go the risk by themselves. Now we can go to the last picture, please. And then I will say thanks for me so far. And I'm ready for questions.
Okay, thank you, Björn. So we'll take the question after the next presentation. So for the last presentation, we've got Lucas Zagoraris from the Center for Security Study in Greece, KEMEA. He will present some real criminal OIDT cases. So Lucas, the floor is yours.
Hello, Marie-Christine. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I will share my content. Okay. Okay. Well, as the previous speakers have said, the online identity theft incidents are too many, and they are increasing day to day with new deep fake techniques and new techniques about voice phishing, HTTPS protocol phishing, spam emails, etc. Today, I'm going to refer indicatively only some of them and the most common from real cases. Starting my presentations, I would like to show you some statistics so that we all understand the impact these incidents have in our lives. As we can see in the graph, fraud and identity theft reporting follow a similar pattern. Online identity theft reports steadily increasing during the past decade. In 2023, out of totally 5.7 million reports to the Federal Trade Commission, not only 1.4 million were specific to identity theft. In Greece specifically, there are frequently reported and published cases of serious online identity theft by the Greek police and its cybercrime unit. The pattern of identity attacks has similar characteristics. Criminals present themselves as accountants offering public services or pretend to be interested buyers of advertisement. In this way, they trick their victims and manage to gain access to victims' bank account. Most of the times, they send phishing emails or SMS that lead to fraudulent bank websites. Concerning a real representative case, a Greek citizen was sent a message in his email account asking him to reschedule the delivery date of a parcel. during the period of pandemic COVID-19. As we can see in the image, the scammers hit the sender. Hit the center of the image with a legitimate brand name, and they used the official logo at the end of the text. By clicking the link would result in malware or adware being installed on the computer or phone without realizing it. And now the question is, have you ever received suspicious emails or messages that you suspect could be phishing attempts, and how did you handle them? I'm sure that we all have been spammed at least once. What have we done? We either deleted or moved it to spam emails. Another unreal incident published on March 2022 was by the Hellenic Data Protection Authority with a complaint against OPAP agency, which is a Greek bet agency. The investigation revealed that complainant's personal data was leaked and a third-party scammer accessed his account. This happened due to insufficient identity checks. As a result, Hellenic Data Protection Authority issued a warning to OPAP requiring to conduct more effective audits on agencies to ensure that they comply with the instructions. The problem is that in many cases, the victims do not report the incidents of online identity theft in law enforcement authorities. This is because either do not realize in time that they have been attacked by scammers or because they don't know where to turn to for help. According to statistics of identity theft in Europe 2019, Western Europeans are more likely to have experienced identity theft, with the UK ranked as the leading country, with 53% of participants experiencing this type of fraud. Nearly 50% of all identity attacks in Europe happened by mail, 39% by phone, while online ads, text messages, and social media represent only the 5, 4, and 3 respectively. 25% of Europeans exposed to any fraud suffered financial damage, causing a total loss of 24 billion in 2 years, 2018 until 2019. Going up to the UK, CIFAS, the Fraud Prevention Service, reported a 34% increase in cases of online identity theft attacks in 2022 compared with the previous year. More specifically, the victims reported the theft of their personal data, which were used for purchases. A common practice is phishing attack, asking for banking information and data, like PINs and passwords. According to a recent survey by Nationwide, around 17% of UK adults have had their identity stolen or used fraudulently. Have you ever encountered fraudulent charges on your credit card or bank account? How did you address the situation? Is the question. In such case, we should talk to a bank representative and log any transactions. And at the same time, we will have to change the password to the bank account. In 2019, the director of a British company fell for a scam. He received a fake voicemail from his manager asking him to transfer $240,000 to a supplier. Scams like this using artificial intelligence, voice cloning technology are becoming more frequent. A recent study published in PLOS ONE involving 529 participants revealed that humans struggle to accurately distinguish between real and fake voice messages. The study found that 25% of participants failed to detect voice deepfakes. As we can see in the image, by 2030, people and systems that can identify deepfake video and audio will be in great demand. Next, I will refer to a real identity theft incident that happened in Spain. The Spanish police arrested 40 scammers in phishing gang bust, but the organized crime gang managed to obtain $760,000 from phishing victims. The link from SMS phishing messages directed the victims to a spoofed banking login page where they entered their username and password. The hackers monitored these actions in real time and immediately used their credentials in order to access the real account and trying to link the cards to virtual wallets. In this way, criminals transferred money from the victims' bank accounts to crypto wallets. Similar online identity theft attacks occur every day in all countries. Digitization has many positives and negatives, with online fraud threatening ordinary citizens. A Bloomberg reporter described deepfakes as fake news on steroids and remarked that they are extremely easy to make. Joel Brynjelsson, the research director of the Swedish Defense Research Agency, emphasizes how important it is for governments to build robust AI solutions. Although deepfake content is made to be misclassified or go undetected to bypass intelligent systems. In 2019, some researchers revealed a digital forensic technique that can spot deepfakes 92% at a time. However, such techniques aren't a permanent solution because deepfake techniques are constantly evolving. As a real criminal case from USA, I will notice a sophisticated AI software program that called a bank in USA that imitated the voice of a customer for a big money transfer. The voice was artificially generated. Mr. Kabachnik and his banker were the targets of a cutting-edge scam attempt that grabbed the attention of cybersecurity experts. Scammers found valuable data in social media and used artificial intelligence in order to generate voice deepfake. According to Pindrop, most of the voice attacks have come into credit cards every call centers. Especially, scammers find available data from social media, and it's more easy when the victim is a celebrity. Like this one, we have the deepfake of Zuckerberg. According to the Statista survey, incidents of online identity theft had a major not only financial impact on the victims, but also a psychological impact. 43% of the victims lost a lot of time in resolving the incident, and this combined with many other consequences that negatively affected their lives, such as closing a bank account or missing an opportunity to buy a new home or had a bad experience in mental health. Therefore, it is necessary to take measures against online identity theft attacks and protect ourselves. Thank you for your attention. I'm here if you want to make any question.
Thank you, Lucas, for this real example and recent one on trends. So I think we are lagging a bit behind the schedule, but we still have time for some questions if they are. I was looking in the chat. I did not see many. There were some remarks or some comments, but no real question to the presentation. Maybe if we could have a look at the answer to the different questions that we had on Slido. I don't know, Anthony, if you can have an overview of this so that we can make some remarks.
Yes. Actually, you should be, I think, able to see, I think everyone is able to see the results of the polls, no? But I see some experiences for the last question. It's anonymous, but someone shared an experience, yes, about having some charges for a subscription he or she never subscribed to. So contact has been made with the telephone provider, etc. So I don't know if this person wants to share a bit more, or if someone else has a question, or if someone wants to take echo with what Sergi said in the chat about the controller's duty to report data breaches. Everything is open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, good morning. May I ask a question to Miguel about the amount of learning time required for those deep audio fakes?
Yeah, tell me, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Could you tell the group about the amount of time for learning material to create those audio fakes? How much conversation or how much dialogue on the part of the victim's voice was needed to create them? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your interest. Well, it depends on the technique. If you remember, I mentioned two techniques, the text-to-speech and the voice conversion. Of course, the more information about the victim is better because there's a need to extract the particular characteristics of the voice that are unique to every person. In the make the algorithm that creates the deep fakes to modify the speech accordingly. I would say that with sparse words, it's not entirely possible to do so. I would, of course, the more data, the better, because that's the thing how artificial intelligence goes, that the more data, the better. So if it's just a sparse words or some very, 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 very brief conversation, the accuracy of the deepfake will not be so similar to the real person. So in order to make it understandable, it would be needed to have at least a couple of minutes of the person talking in different kinds of inflections of their voice. So if what I suspect, if you're dreading that by some call or something like that, giving sparse words like some answers like yes or no or hello or something like that, no, that's not enough to make a plausible and accurate deepfake.
But just a couple of minutes can get started. That's interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Thank you for your interest.
I don't know, Anthony, if you could show also on the question, there was some question of what could be done or what could be the activity or action that could be recommended. I wanted to highlight something because when we were discussing about the risk of online identity theft, I was reading some documents about the situation in France, and they have estimated that 200,000 people are affected by online identity theft, and it is more than the number of victims of burglary or car theft. So I think that there is really, we do not realize really the scope of this phenomenon, and I think it is really enormous. So it is underestimated, and we underestimate also the losses, the cost. I think Veronica mentioned the time that the victim have to spend to restore their identity, and that's also a kind of problems that you have to deal with that. And also for some cases, there are some possible legal action. And again, in France, the estimated time for a trial against a frauder is 18 months. So you can, on some cases are much, much longer. So it has a real impact on life. So not only the economic loss, but also all the other elements around this economic loss. So maybe, I don't know, Kostis, if you want to say something, it might be time to end also the meeting. I had one point that I wanted to say, and I'm going to put also the slide on because I mentioned that. We have some activity in the observatory that are starting now, and we will carry out a lot of things. So please, if you are interested in this question and this problem, watch us and follow us, because we will carry out a lot of things during the 2 years to come. So you are very much welcome, and we'll do our best to, because we know now that we need really to educate and help the citizen to better face this situation. Kostis, if you want to say a few words as well.
Yes, thank you, Marie-Christine, and thank you everybody for attending. be aware that there's going to be more webinars in the future, perhaps on, this was an introductory webinar about the concept of identity theft and some general things about it. Future webinars will focus on more specific things. So, of course, if you're interested, follow us on social media. You can subscribe to the newsletter. You can check the website. It's going to be made even nicer in the near future. And it's going to have like additional things. We have articles on individual aspects of identity theft, like technological ones, legal ones, social ones, and so on. We're going to have even some games and some examples in the future. So everybody, like Marie-Christine said, everybody who is interested in this, you can follow us and check the website out periodically. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kostis. Well, a big thank you to all of you, to the presenter and to the participant, because we will continue our work on online identity theft, and very thankful and grateful for this first webinar. Thanks a lot. Yes, also just for the participants, the presentation will be made available. So if people are interested, they will have access to this presentation. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And bye-bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Richard.
you. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.